What's up, y'all? This is a message from editing me. I know that the audio is gonna sound very grainy, very echoey. Something happened to my mic. Unfortunately, I only noticed after I started recording, but honestly, it's not too bad. We'll still be able to hear, and then problems should be fixed by next week. So please still enjoy.
What's up, y'all? One Piece One Life here, and guys, we're finally back. Genuinely, it's been so long without One Piece, a whole 3 weeks. I didn't even know what to do with myself. Okay, obviously that's not true. I had other things going on in my life. And before I forget, happy Thanksgiving to all of you. I personally am grateful for all of you and that you continue to watch and support the channel. But yeah, guys, One Piece is back, and this is a great chapter to come back to, I'm not gonna lie. This chapter genuinely contained what may go down as one of the best island introduction spreads in the entire series. Not to mention introducing an intriguing plot point that ties back to a random one-off character that I had never thought we were going to hear from again, and honestly, that I forgot about, because this is going to be One Piece chapter 1132 reviewed. But before we get into it, guys, like the video, subscribe to the channel for more One Piece content just like this weekly. Guys, we are about 40 away from 400. Let's see if we can really push there before the end of this year. And share it around with all your friends who love One Piece. You know what we always say, let's get it going. Oh, and make sure you subscribe to me and my boys over at CSY. Rumor has it, we may be dropping a cipher soon. So starting us off, we have the cover story, and we have Yamato and her little group all together in front of Udon Castle, which is being rebuilt right where the old prisoner mines used to be. A bit of a power move, but hey, I'm interested. But they still haven't found whoever the burglar, ex-thief, ex-kidnapper is. But that doesn't matter. On to the chapter. And so we actually start off at the bar where Shanks and his crew were when we first saw them on ELBAF, with the giant boy who wanted to go with Shanks, kind of reminding us of Luffy. That boy's name ends up being Colin, and then his mom is actually the bartender that we saw that was kind of swooning over Shanks, which is interesting considering that we find out that she has a husband, but hey. So as they see the Great Eric approaching, Colin asks the captains whether they're going to stop by for a drink, but Dory and Brocky simply tell them that they don't have time for that. Apparently Shanks had told Colin about Luffy, so Colin's pretty excited, and meanwhile Colin's being sent up by his mother to go and deliver a bunch of drinks and a bunch of other stuff to some of the warriors. And though he's just happily trotting along with the pack, it's really giving Red Riding Hood vibes. I'm not gonna lie, Colin is looking like a strong contender for Child of the Ark. And if you don't know what that is, that's basically the little kid that Luffy encounters that basically makes him tied into the plot of what's actually going on. So think Momo, Shirahoshi, Tama. So meanwhile, the Great Eric is continuing and it meets up with Hiruden and Stanson's ship. Yes, Hiruden, the bum prince. So the Great Eric approaches and they see that there's a giant rainbow seemingly coming off of the island and going into the water. And all the Strats are just like, well, we've never been this close to a rainbow before. Look at it up close. How great. Then Brocky just says, yeah, I mean, it's pretty normal for us, we can draw rainbows with the Sunstone Painter. And I guess what a Sunstone Painter is like these little cubes that they have that allows them to literally draw the rainbows out. But then see, you may be asking, well, why are they drawing rainbows? Well, that's because they get to ride on them. As the captains tell everybody to hold on because they're about to go vertical, the ship literally starts ascending and riding on the rainbow. I'm not gonna lie, only One Piece can do something like this. The captains explain that the village they're going to is on top of the tree, so they need to hitch a ride on the rainbow to get there. And honestly, the Straw Hats are really confused by this. Frankie's just like, yo, you did not explain why we're actually going up a rainbow, while Robin is explaining what a rainbow is actually composed of. But neither of the Giants captains care about that. Dory and Brocky are just like, yo, rainbows are meant to be crossed, what can I tell you? And honestly, at this stage, I'm with them. Cause I'm like, Straw Hats, think about everything that y'all have been through. You really think that riding the rainbow is the craziest thing you've seen in the Grand Line? Like, there are entire islands in the sky. You've been to one. So as they're sailing up the rainbow, they say that when you're rainbow sailing, the rainbow currents don't have any resistance. So even the slightest row will literally propel you forward basically the entire way. Which, it's just really nice world building to add in. And so you have Bonnie chiming in that it's amazing that she gets to see a 7-colored sea, and Robin, being obviously the mother-esque figure as she always is to kids, is just there alongside her. So as the crew who's with the Giants continue on their way, we switch gears and we see what Luffy's up to. So Luffy has apparently sprang back up to that bridge that connects where the land of the dead is and, the bridge that Sanji and the others had already gone on. He sprang back there. And as he's soaring through the air, he sees Gerd and Goldberg holding the Sunny, and he's like, yo, that's my shit. What are you doing? And Gerd, I'm not gonna lie, you just have to love Gerd because she sees Luffy and immediately starts fangirling. She holds him like it's real small in her hand and is just like, oh my goodness, Luffy-kun, like you're so cute, oh my gosh. No, I'm here to serve you, don't worry, we're hired in subordinates, we got you. And then Gerd is actually hilarious because she emphasizes and makes it a point, please, I really love humans, but I'm not like that creep road, okay? Please do not associate me with that weirdo. Which is just funny because I'm like, then why is he on the crew? I mean, okay, I get it. They did say it's because of his navigational talent, but still. So as Gerd keeps talking about how she doesn't want to be associated with Frodo and Luffy pieces together that must be the Skullface guy, Goldberg actually asks, well, you just came from the realm of the dead, right? What were you doing down there? Did you fall? Like, what happened? And that's when Luffy remembers with a start that at the end of his conversation with Loki, Loki specifically tells him, yo, this has to be our secret. Don't go telling nobody. Which, I don't know, if a stranger that I just met and is telling me, oh, by the way, go and do this shady thing and keep it a secret, the last thing I'm doing is keeping it a secret. But anyways, they just breeze past it, I guess, as the scene transitions to the realm of the sun, the forest that Sanji and the others actually end up getting to, which is that second tier. So you have Rodo chasing after Nami and Chopper, and I'm not gonna lie, everything that he's saying is reminding me of some people who recently got locked up in the US. Let's get you locked up again before the others catch on? That's not okay. But it turns out, Nami and Chopper were just the bait, because as he goes in front, Zoro and Sanji fell a giant tree and slam it on top of him. So as Sanji's telling them, alright, now we can actually go and head out, Gerd, Goldberg, and Luffy actually end up rendezvousing with the others. It sounds a lot like Rodo has a crush on Gerd, but Gerd does not feel the same way. Because the moment they see him, both Gerd and Goldberg take out their weapons and basically Hakoku sovereignty the back of his head. So then, amidst some Sanji shenanigans, as usual, Gerd and Goldberg officially introduced themselves to the rest of the crew and just said, look, we'll be your guys from now on, don't worry about it. Luffy and Usopp want to head in front of everybody else because they're just that excited. And Gerd says, no problem, just head out of this forest, you'll see clouds. Take a ride on the clouds and then you'll be able to see the village. They go on and they are about to reach the village, then that's when the scene cuts just briefly because we go back to the giant ship where Bragi is actually explaining what the different tiers of ELBAF are. Pulling back up my amazing map of ELBAF, what we end up having is 3 realms. We already know that the realm of the dead is that bottom tier where Loki is being trapped and all the animals are. The middle tier is the realm of the sun, and that's where most of the giant villages are. And Dory and Bragi also say, well, that's where we live. And finally, the top tier is the realm of heaven. And I'm assuming just based on, the way that things are going, the realm of heaven is gonna be where the royals actually live. Now, just on it real quick, a lot of people are kind of sad that there's not 9 different realms all correlating with different realms of, the actual Yggdrasil tree. But just hold on, because see, Dory does mention that the middle tier actually has multiple different villages. And you have to remember, this is a giant-sized island. From our perspective as humans, it's a giant-sized island, which means that it's vastly larger than Dressrosa, which itself had multiple different cities. Vastly larger than Alabasta, which is a really large island, and still had multiple different cities and areas to it. And what that means is that each of these different villages could be representative of, the 9 different realms if Oda wanted to go that way. And then as both groups arrive from different areas, we see it finally. A full spread of ELBAF itself. The Elbafian village, it's just beautiful. That's the only words I can use to describe it. Like the way that the houses look, and there's a castle there, and then it reminds me a lot of Berk from How to Train Your Dragon. It reminds me a lot of that. And then you just have the Straw Hats, all of them collectively together reacting to seeing just how amazing, how big, and how vast ELBAF is. Something very interesting to note is that Lilith and Bonnie each get their own reactions and speaking pieces in this chapter, which to some people has indicated, oh wait, maybe they are going to end up joining the crew. Their dynamic is already meshing in well. And my whole thing about this is, let's just wait and see. Only because I do feel like Bonnie is kind of done being a pirate at this point, so she may still stay on ELBAF, you know? And so then, as everybody's converging, you actually have the two groups reuniting, like between Frankie's group and Luffy's group. And so my only thing here is, I mean, it's cool that they're all together again, but what was the point, I guess, of, you know, separating them? Or I guess asking what the point was the wrong question. It's more like, where can we go from here? Because I had thought that the separation would last like a bit longer so that we could see, like, you know, Frankie's group actually have to overcome adversity without Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji being there. But I don't know, I mean, well, listen, they're back together. They all are on ELBAF now, which means that Frankie's group is about to get some ELBAF costumes, and I'm ready for it. Predictably, Usopp, Chopper, and Luffy definitely want to ride the rainbow because, you know, of course they want to. But interestingly, as the chapter is winding down and you have those final few pages, you start to have what seems to be like almost like somebody is writing pages in a journal of some sort. I'm just going to read the full message for you. It is a sight of such enormity that it stuns all visitors. Most fail to find words that adequately describe its immense grandeur. They call it the Kingdom of Warland. It resides on the massive Isle of ELBAF. Hence its more common moniker, ELBAF, the Land of Giants. From the mighty trees to the gentle flowers, from sea to sky to land, all life on this particular island is so huge, it takes one's breath away. To those who seek adventure, I concede it would be a great shame to turn away from this marvelous island. However, if nothing else, I implore you to keep this one piece of advice in the back of your mind. Should you venture out and arrive on ELBAF's vast and mysterious soil, heed my simple warning. If I could only write one thing about this enticing nation, it would be this. Do not linger there for too long. And it's signed by Louis Arnaud, the Explorer. And with that being the end of the chapter, it opens the floodgates for a bunch of theories. But first things first, let's remember who Louis Arnaud actually is. A lot of people, especially if you're casual, probably won't know who this is, but those of us who remember, cast your minds back to Little Garden. Because Louis Arnaud is also the guy who was writing in the journal about Little Garden when he was explaining that it's an island whose time flows differently, hence why there's dinosaurs there and such. And he's the author of the book Bragman. Now, I don't think it's a coincidence that Oda is bringing back the guy who was talking about Little Garden, the only other true place that we saw giants and like things of this nature, on ELBAF, which obviously is supposed to symbolize that there's some sort of connection between the two. So here's what I'm thinking, right? If the warning has to do with not being there for too long, obviously a time scale of some sort has to be in effect. Now, what I've seen a lot of other people come to the conclusion of is that it actually has to do with you spending time on ELBAF will translate to like time flowing faster outside of ELBAF. The example being that one day on ELBAF would take X amount of months or years even outside. And from there, people have even leaped to say, whoa, let's connect it to 3D2Y, stating that the entire ELBAF arc is going to be 3 days, but by the time the Straw Hats leave, 2 years would have passed, allowing for some sort of time skip. And now, while this is interesting, I don't think that's going to happen, guys. For one, we've already seen Dorian Bragi and Oimo and Kashi have, you know, same basis of references for the years. As Dorian Bragi mentioned, like, oh yeah, it's been 2 years since we saw y'all, right? Like, same thing with Oimo and Kashi, it's been 2 years. You'd think that if they were on a different island, you know, the time would flow differently. So that kind of disproves that, at least in my eyes, but you know, it's One Piece, anything could still happen. But now, the way I'm thinking about it, it may be even more interesting than that. Because what if being on ELBAF as a regular human actually makes you age faster? And that's why you don't want to linger there for too long, because if you do, you'll stay for so long and your actual physiological body will age, maybe to the point of even premature death. I imagine Louis Arnaud found that out the hard way. And then interestingly enough, it would also connect to why Shanks had said when we first saw him and his crew on ELBAF, man, lost track of the time, we actually have to go. So there's definitely some sort of time scale thing happening here. We just gotta look out for what it actually ends up being. But regardless, I think this was a really, really great chapter to come back to just because it's, you know, adventuring in ELBAF. We're getting some more lore dumps. We're getting some more, you know, just world building of the island itself. That's what I really love One Piece for. So best believe for me, this chapter is a strong 8. But what do you guys think of the chapter? I'm really interested in knowing your thoughts. What do you think this whole warning that Louis left is about? And what do you think the actual struggle that Luffy and the crew are going to have to face on ELBAF actually will end up being? Let me know all that and more in the comments. So that is the end of the video, y'all. But please, before we go, guys, like the video, subscribe to the channel for more One Piece content just like this weekly, and share it around with all your friends who love the series or anime and manga in general. Remember what I always say, I'm trying to build a community, but I need your help to do it. Well, that's gonna be all for me. I'll catch you on the next one. And always remember, one piece, one life. Now, I just really love the way that Oda foreshadows things and brings things back and connects things. Because genuinely, who else would have thought that Louis Arnaud, a random throwaway character that was mentioned briefly over 1,000 chapters ago, would come back and have impact now. Some people are even thinking that the small silhouette that we see passing by is Louis Arnaud. But I'm not gonna lie, it's looking like Gabon is on ELBAF. That's all I'm saying.